Welcome into Tide Talk Live. Stacey Blackwood here with Jake Thomas as we discuss the current state of the Alabama football program. Of course, they're coming off that disappointing loss to the LSU Tigers this last weekend. First of all, Jake, how you doing? Glad to be here with you tonight, talk some Alabama football, and hopefully the chat will be jumping tonight as we jump into this discussion.
Yeah, man, good to be here. It's finally when a week, not that we can get together and discuss some things. But yeah, I'm glad to be here, and week's been going good so far. How about your week?
Oh, it's good, man. Just working. You know the drill.
Yeah,
Just same old, working the 9 to 5 and trying to create a little side hustle. But like we said, that this is a live show, so the chat's open, and we want to hear from everybody as we discuss the state of the football program. Of course, it's kind of been the topic of discussion around college football ever since Saturday night concluded. And before we really do that, of course, we want to make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up, and share it on different social media apps if you do not mind. Share this link so we can get as many people in here as possible. But and like we said, the chat is open, so we want to hear from all of you. And I'm actually typing something out in the chat right now, so that's why you're seeing me do that.
yeah, you good. But yeah, get in the chat. We want to hear your thoughts on the program. We want to hear your thoughts in general. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the football program, but I mean, basketball starting up. So if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. This team, they had their first game and they look really, really good. Brandon Miller looks like a stud. Noah Clowney. So I'm excited about the basketball team.
Yeah, we'll talk about them as we wrap this episode up. But the title of this episode is assessing the football program. So we want to try to stay as on topic as we can. Of course, it's going to be driven by what the listeners and the viewers say. But Jake, let's just dive right into it. There's no sense in wasting time. If you follow what I write over there at Roll Tide Wire, you'll see that I said that obviously the dynasty is not dead. That is an overstatement that Paul Feinbaum and all these national guys say to receive clicks and views and listens. That's not the case. The dynasty is not over, Jake. Nick Saban has not forgotten how to coach. Changes just need to be made. To me, it's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts just on the surface about the current state of the football program?
At the very top is Nick Saban, and as long as he's there, I'm not really worried about it. I know that going into the off season, he's going to make the necessary changes needed, and he will make the right changes because he always does. I think our buddy Clint Lamb said that this would be like his third time to do like a reset, and each time he's come back and won a national championship. So this is another reset, and this might be his final one, but this one could last 4, 5, 6 years for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good way to kind of summarize it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we'll just wrap it up. No, but but you're exactly right, Jake. This is not the first time something like this has happened under Nick Saban. Maybe as far as the way the team has looked this year, never really looking like the dominant team that we're used to seeing. And that kind of was part of last season too. Maybe the most dominant performance last year was against Georgia in the SEC championship game. And, they really just clobbered Georgia in that game. And then injuries kind of piled up on them and they couldn't finish the season the way they wanted to. But this year, Jake, they squeak by Texas. They squeak by Texas A&M. They lose to A&M. I mean, they lose to Tennessee. Then they lose to LSU. And Jake, what I want to say is it's not about the losses.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lose games. That just happens.
Yeah.
It's the way the team is played, Jake, and the lack of execution on the field. It's clear that the coaching and the play calling is not what it needs to be. And then, Jake, the situational football. Look, Nick Saban and Alabama, they have been so dominant for so long because of situational football. Jake, when the defense needed to stop for the last 15 years, for the most part, they got the stop.
Right.
Jake, all they needed was one stop after Bryce Young makes that play to Ja'Cory Brooks. They just stop, Jake. One
Just
stop.
one stop.
And they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's situational football, Jake. They don't make the plays that are there when they need to make them, both offensively and defensively. And what that tells me, Jake, is look, there's a lot of factors into that. Obviously, Bryce Young being injured this season has played a role in the way the offense has performed because it's clear the chemistry is not there.
Right.
But Bill O'Brien, he doesn't have a knack for calling plays. He doesn't have a feel for the game. We've talked about that multiple times. He has no creativity in his game planning or his play calling, and it really hinders the Alabama offense. And so I think it's obvious that it's time to move on from him. And I think that you would probably agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Bill O'Brien and the right system would work. It's just not a good fit. It seems like at Alabama, as a year, the last couple of years have shown. But he is a talented coach, and I mean, he did really good at Penn State when he was there as a head coach, and his time as an offense coordinator is everywhere. He's done really well, but it just don't seem like a good fit here. Like you said, creativity is not there. And when he just seems like he gets away from the running game way too early in the games. I think in the LSU game there was 2 or 3 series where we went 3 and out and we passed it every single time. I mean, we got Jahmyr Gibbs.
Alabama ran the ball 7 times in the first half against LSU.
Right.
7.
And I have said this 1,000 times. We know Bryce Young is a special player. We know, he is a once in a generational top quarterback, but you have other weapons as well to help him out. And we're just trying to put it all on Bryce Young to lead us, and it's not. That don't need to be the case.
It feels like when I watch the Alabama play offense, it's Bill O'Brien just says, "All right, let's just run play B and see what Bryce can do."
Right.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no creativity, Jake. And like you mentioned, Bill O'Brien is a good coach. He knows football.
Right.
He's just not a good fit at Alabama right now. He's not.
Yeah.
And it's really not a knock on him. I'm not knocking the guy because he's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
I mean, he knows football, Jake. He knows offense.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't fit well at Alabama and what Alabama tries to do. And I think it's obvious that Alabama needs to move on from him. I think it's a foregone conclusion that he's gone after this season. And it's going to be about how they finish. And I don't want to go to how they finish before we talk about the defensive side of the ball, Jake, because you've been saying it for, I don't know, 3 seasons now that Pete Golden wasn't it. And, I was kind of on the, well, let's give him a chance side of things. And Jake, he just hadn't got it done either. And the defense is no better, Jake. It's no better.
Right.
It's not any better than what it was when he took it over. And it should be elite this year with Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, DJ Dale, Henry To'oTo'o, Jordan Battle, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Eli Ricks. This defense should be elite, and it's not. Brian Branch, it's not elite.
Right.
It's good. It's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a good defense, but that's not what it should be.
No.
And that goes back to coaching.
Yes.
And it's just, we saw it in the Tennessee game, Jake. The game plan was atrocious, and then there was no adjustments.
Right.
And look, Nick Saban's right. All that does fall back on him. But you can't hire coordinators and then not let them coordinate.
Right.
Then 100%. nobody's gonna come work for you.
Right.
So to me, I think it's pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered that at the end of this year, there's going to be a lot of changes in that coaching staff. And I'm not just talking about Bill O'Brien and Pete Golden. I think there's going to be other changes as well. Yeah,
I think there's going to be a mass exodus of a few coaches. But like you said, it all goes back to coaching. And, I told everybody here, and I told you that I was going to give Pete Golden a chance this year because last year he showed flashes. That defense showed flashes what they could do. The offense struggled against LSU last year at home, and his defense stepped up in a big way and won that game. They played really well in that SEC championship game and limited into a Georgia attack, especially Russian attack, and they limited 18 points, I believe it was, and we looked really good defensively there. But there's other times it looked bad. And one thing that just stood out to me was last Saturday night, LSU, after we come out of the timeout on the 2-point conversion, we still had 12 men on the field. That should not be happening when your team is well coached, and I was like, my gosh,
Yeah, it's the lack of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It's the lack of execution. It's the lack of creativity on offense. It's the lack of fundamental football on defense. And it's just the overall, just the feel of this team, Jake. It's off.
Right. Yeah.
It's off. I mean, I don't know how to put that into words and make it, articulate it in a way that makes sense to everybody. But I think everybody sees it, Jake. This team's just a little off.
Yeah.
And it's for a multitude of reasons. And Coach Saban's taking the blame for it. And really, the truth is that's who it goes on because he's the head coach, Jake. He is the leader of that program and that team. It all falls back on him. Look, he swung and missed on Bill O'Brien. He swung and missed on Pete Golden. Now it's time to lick your wounds, go back to the drawing board, and hire better coaches next time. Jake, he's had to hire a bazillion coaches since he's been there. I mean, you're going to miss on one or two.
Right. And offensively, he has not missed on anybody besides, Bill O'Brien. It's just the offense looks a lot different because I guess we're used to seeing like Lane Kiffin led offense and a Steve Sarkisian, all the creativity, all the mismatches
Look, what Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian did better than anybody else, and this is why they're head coaches right now at big time programs. They took advantage of the skill set that their offensive players had, and then they created mismatches against the defense so those players could excel at a high level. Jake, when Lane Kiffin had Blake Sims at quarterback and basically Amari Cooper as a wide receiver, what did he do? Yeah. He moved Amari Cooper all around that field to get him wide open, and he was open all the daggum time.
He was, yeah.
He nearly won the Heisman.
And
Blake Sims as his quarterback.
And Blake had a great year that year too because of Lane Kiffin.
Exactly. And then Steve Sarkisian, Jake, his ability. I mean, it was 6 or 7 times every game a wide receiver was running wide open, wide open.
Yeah.
Because of the play design, not just because he had elite wide receivers, but because the play design created that opportunity. There is no creativity on offense, Jake, and I hate to keep piling on the guy because, like I said, he's a good coach. He doesn't fit at Alabama. It doesn't work. And I want the chat to jump in. What changes? What changes would you guys in the chat like to see? Within this Alabama football program, is it just the coordinators? Is it any position coaches? Just any thoughts or opinions that you might have on the football program. We would love to hear that and discuss that as we kind of continue.
Like I said, I don't want to keep piling on Bill O'Brien, but I want to go back to Steve Sarkisian. And one of the highlighted plays I remember at his time was in that championship game against Ohio State. He lined up Devontae Smith in the slot and had a linebacker on him. That is a mismatch made in heaven. And look what happened. I mean, it turned into a touchdown because Devontae just went right up the seam and blew that linebacker out of the water, So it's just scheming. It's just the game planning. It's just, a new number of reasons that there needs to be changes made.
Yeah. And in all fairness, Jake, I want to say that I don't think that we have those type of weapons at wide receiver.
Right.
They're not bad, but they're not Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jared Jeudy, Amari Cooper. I'm not even sure they're DJ Hall going way, way back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they're just elite guys. Not yet, anyways. Look, the freshman, I'm not going to say, but Ja'Cory Brooks needs to be better than what he's been. JoJo Earl is, for some reason, not even in the game plan.
Right.
I mean, I don't get that. And, where's Tyler Harrell? He's healthy now. Why is he not on the field?
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to question those type things because it is Nick Saban as the head coach. But, I mean, what we're doing is not working. Can we try something else?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
I know. Yeah. And it's I don't want to say it's depressing. It's just I'm just kind of in shock right now how it's been this year.
Well, and that just goes to show how spoiled we are.
Right.
Jake, we're sitting here at 7-2, a chance to win 10 regular season games. Go to a New Year. If we win out, we go to a New Year's Six game. Probably play somebody like Clemson. I mean, we're spoiled.
We are.
But it's Nick Saban's fault we're spoiled.
Thank you. I'd say thank you for that, but it's just crazy, how, because, we'll go back to defense. We talked about in our preview of the season a couple months ago before the season started, how we thought this defense was to get back on that elite level because of the talent on that defense. I mean, Battle is a 4-year starter.
Where has he been? Where has he been all year?
That's a good question.
He is MIA.
He should have left, I think, because he was a second round pick probably last year. Now he may be 4th or 5th the way he's played this year.
Well, if I'm an NFL GM or a scout, look, Jordan Battle's a really good player, Jake. But when you play safety, you need to make plays. He doesn't make plays.
I know.
And I'm not trying to pick on the guy. He's a good player and he's a good guy. But Jake, he just does not make plays.
I know. Yeah. And I mean, the other safeties like Brian Branch, he's making plays. Helens, he's making some plays, but
he also whiffs a lot.
He does, yeah. But a leader like Battle, who's been in that program for a while now, you need him to be the guy making plays in that backfield, and he just hadn't done it.
No, and I thought the way he finished last season, in that SEC championship game, he gets that pick six. He plays really well. I thought, man, he's going to have a fantastic senior season. He's going to be kind of the leader of that defense outside of Will Anderson and Henry To'oTo'o. And man, I never hear his name called.
I know. I don't. And you don't see him in the stats sheets much. He may have 1, 2, 3 tackles, but it's just he's just not making the plays like you said.
And maybe some of that is scheme from the offense, avoiding going to whatever side of the field he's on. I don't know. I don't watch. I mean, I watch every game 2 or 3 times, but I don't watch, each individual player, that often. I'm mainly watching how, the offensive line performs, how the defensive line performs. Do we make tackles in open field and that type of stuff? But it's just I'm disappointed that Battle hadn't been more impactful for the Alabama defense.
Right. And I want to get your thoughts on something. I have a lot of people at work. We talk about it a lot, but some of my co-workers, when we talk about the games, they keep bringing up like our corners do not look for the ball. And I know Saban has said that. I think he teaches that or something, but I mean, there's a couple of plays this year where if we would just turn back and look for the ball, we probably wouldn't have had some of the pass interferences. We would have been in position to make interceptions. So is that because we're in man and maybe we need to go more to zone, because in zone you feel like they do start watching the quarterback's eyes a little bit better, and a little bit more. But
nobody gets called for pass interference more than Alabama. So obviously, I think what we're doing is not working.
Right.
And I will say this: I think since Travaris Robinson's taken over, this is his first season. I think that it's improved. I do think the corners, more specifically, are better than what we had last year.
Yeah,
I would say that. Even though Jalen Armour-Davis and Josh Jobe are both in the NFL, I think that overall our corners are performing more consistently this season.
Yeah,
I think they're improving as a unit as well. But the fact that they don't look for the football drives me absolutely nuts.
I know it. I'm like, come on, guys. you would see that ball coming, if you just turn your head around,
I mean, you can't make a play on the ball that you can't see.
I know. I just don't understand it, but
But like you said, in the past, and I think he's kind of slowly changing his view on this. Saban has said, to play in phase and to play the receiver
mhm.
and not really the ball. But I think he's slowly kind of turning around because I think you're notice if you would pay attention this year, they're looking back for the ball a little more than in previous
They
seasons.
they are, and one telling sign of that is look what Trayvon Diggs did. His first year in the NFL, he had like 7 interceptions, and I think he had maybe 2 or 3 at Alabama. So it's just different. But maybe it's changing around a little bit. They are getting their head around a little bit more, like you said.
This has really felt more like a therapy session than a
Yeah, yeah.
than kind of assessing the football program. Because the truth is, Jake, neither one of us feel. I don't have the doom and gloom. Like it's over.
Right.
Do you-
No, because I know Nick Saban is going to make the changes needed, in the off season because he don't really fire coordinators in the season. I know there was one
No.
at Lane Kiffin before the championship game, but he don't do it, in season. And I'm glad he don't because it just kind of throws everything out of whack and trying to get a guy to start calling plays that probably he's never called plays before and just kind of throws timing off a little bit. But in the offseason, he's going to make the necessary changes and he's going to go get the guy he wants at each spot. Whoever's gone, offense coordinator, defense coordinator. People want Freddie Roach going defensive line. I don't know why. I mean, he's done really good recruiting. But one of the things about the defensive line is I said it to a couple guys at work, but losing to Boygby this year has hurt matters because he's not he's not really a flashy player, doesn't have a lot of stats, but he's just disruptive. And he was causing havoc on that defensive line and he was taking up a lot of double teams, which allowed one of the linebackers or another interior guy to get open, and rush the quarterback. So losing him really kind of hurt defensively on the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. And they are releasing the college football playoff rankings. You have not seen it, have you, Jake?
No, I haven't.
Where do you think Alabama is?
Let's see. LSU is 10, so they're going to be between 10 and 12, I would probably say.
They're number 9.
Number 9, okay. I'll take that.
It's Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. Tennessee drops to 5. Oregon at 6. LSU 7. USC 8. Alabama 9. And Clemson 10.
Okay. If we had a 12-team playoff, we'd still be in it.
See, and look, people were always griping because I was never really a proponent for expanding to 12 because I just think it's kind of silly. I mean, I'm more for it now just because, I mean, I knew it was going to happen, so I've just kind of made myself, good with the idea. But
Right.
like, does Alabama? Jake, let's be honest. We both love Alabama more than basically anything. Does Alabama look like a playoff team?
No.
But right now they'd be in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right now they'd be in. And in a 12-team playoff. And Jake, if there was an 8-team playoff and they beat Ole Miss this next week, guess what? They're in.
Mm-hmm.
The 18. I mean, it's just so that's my whole point. Look, Jake, when I've watched every one of these teams play, and the truth is, outside of Georgia, nobody looks. I mean, even Ohio State, Jake, they look like dog crap against Northwestern, who's won one game all year.
Yeah, they blame the win for that though, but still, you can't blame the win. Yeah, you can't blame the win when Northwestern's running back.
Did the win make Northwestern's running back obviously miraculously better?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. So.
Can you not tackle in the win?
Yeah, no, you can still tackle in the win, but No, I just
See, look, that's the biggest pile of horse crap. I mean, the
mhm.
wind.
Yeah, I know.
Look, I know that's going to affect your passing game, Jake, but Ohio State ought to line up and run on Northwestern
Like crazy.
like Nick
Mhm.
Saban famously said, like shit through a tin horn.
Yeah. One game. They've only won one game, and that was against Nebraska. That does not look
The
good.
first game of the year.
Yeah. So I just you can't use that win as an excuse.
Well, I mean, it's just so what I'm saying is like the whole playoff expansion thing, it's going to be fun because it's more college football games. But Jake, it's going to be it's it's going to be the same four teams.
Right.
When it's all said and done, it's going to be the same four teams. You might every once in a while you might get a couple upsets, and one team that's not supposed to be there gets in there. Maybe,
Right. Yeah.
maybe one every out of every 5 years.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
But see,
And honest, go ahead.
what I was going to say is people are always like, "Well, you don't want to expand the playoffs because um, it hurts Alabama." What?
No.
This right here proves what I tried to tell everybody all along. No, now you're just giving Alabama a chance to lose a couple games and still get in.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And what I was going to say is, we've talked about it. We even talked about it last week. This Alabama team has yet to live up to their ability, pretty much, and
I mean,
they still have plenty of time to do it.
what happens if the switch gets flipped on Alabama? And I'm not saying it's going to, and I'm not going to say it's not.
Right.
But I mean, I would be a little surprised if the switch flipped and this team just all of a sudden against Ole Miss and the rest of this season looked like the Alabama team we thought they were.
Right.
And then you're looking at a team they're scary. They're scary, very good.
They are, because they're so talented. They're deep everywhere, and if they get mentally right and play up to their ability, and we did have a 12-team playoff, they would be a dangerous team in that playoff system.
That's my whole point. Like these
Right.
people claiming that I didn't want the expansion because it would be bad because it would hurt the team I root for. I mean, what are you smoking?
Right.
All it's
Yeah.
all it's doing is helping a team like this year's team who maybe it takes them a long time to figure out who they really are,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden they turn into, big bad Alabama again.
That's right. It just takes one game.
Yeah, I mean, if this team got a shot in the arm against Ole Miss and just looks like who we think they can look like,
Mhm.
then who knows what happens.
Right.
And of
If
course,
they go
that's not going to matter for this year because the playoff is not expanded this year. But I'm just talking about in the future. That's why I never understood the argument of, well, you're an Alabama fan, that's why you don't want the playoffs expanded.
No, because like you said, it allows Alabama to lose 2 games and still get in.
Yeah, I mean, with room to spare.
Right, exactly. So, and if this Alabama team plays to their ability, and somehow this week they absolutely destroy Ole Miss, I think they can move up a couple of spots in that ranking. We already know that Michigan and Ohio State still got to play each other, so that's going to knock one out. TCU's got a tough game against Texas this week, and they're still going to probably play somebody else, for their championship. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, if TCU drops just one game, Jake, they're gonna plummet.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
obvious the committee doesn't have a lot. I mean, I know they're 4 this week, but Jake, they had to have a bunch of teams losing to move up. And
Exactly.
if TCU drops a game, if they lose to Texas this week, they're going to plummet in the rankings.
And I don't remember exactly who Georgia has left, but I don't see them losing. Tennessee still has to go to South Carolina. They should beat them easily, but who knows? And then Tennessee hasn't beat like Vandy in like 3 years. I know that's got to be in the back of their minds too,
Oh, they'll crush Vanderbilt.
They should, but there's I'm not going to say the season's lost. Kind of seems that way, but there's still an outside chance.
Well, the only way they get in, Jake, is if LSU loses 2 games, they lose the last 2 SEC games, and Alabama wins out, they get in the SEC championship game, and then they beat Georgia. That's the only way they're getting in.
Right. Yep. But it could happen if this team started playing to ability.
Well, I mean, yeah, but all the other crap has to happen too. LSU's not going to lose 2 more games. They're not going to lose to A&M and Arkansas.
No,
that ain't happening.
I don't see that happening. I do want to say, I'm actually shocked that I thought it was going to take Brian Kelly a couple more years just to get his players in, but he's taken what kind of talent he's had and got him playing ball.
Yeah, no doubt. They're a really good team, and for people who doubted them, I mean, they have talent all over the board.
Right.
And I think what's made the difference is Jaden Daniels has probably exceeded what they thought he would be for that team, even what Coach Kelly thought. I mean, because there was a competition really at the beginning of the year still. And so I think the way that Jaden Daniels has performed has really, kind of let the team exceed their expectations, even for what Brian Kelly probably thought they would be.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the big one blemish is they got absolutely trounced against Tennessee. And then there was a field goal away, a possession away from beating Florida State. Other than that, they've been really, really solid.
And we've went for 30 minutes, Jake, and we've kind of talked about all the changes that need to be made at Alabama and how, we're not really satisfied with how the teams perform, Jake. But we're 1 2-point conversion fail from beating LSU, and we're 1 made field goal away from beating Tennessee.
I mean,
and we're undefeated.
Yeah, 4 points is all.
4 points. So for all the other fan bases that may be listening or maybe watching or looking from the outside in at this program, it's not over.
No, I know, as bad as you want it to be, it's not. So 4 points is all. Just 4 points is all. As the swing of the season. So.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. It's a game of inches, and a couple bounces here, a couple bounces there. Alabama's undefeated, and everybody's outlook is. And Paul Feinbaum's not on TV saying Nick Saban's dynasty is over.
I can't stand.
He's an idiot. He is an idiot. He says He says whatever he believes will receive the most views, the most clicks, and the biggest headline.
Yep. And saying out the dynasty is over, everybody's saying it now in the national media, and that's their biggest click. Sorry, I saw something today, and it's kind of true. What the run that Alabama's had has been historical, and even once Saban leaves, it's going to be kind of a few years. But we was winning national championships long before Nick Saban, and we're going to win national championships long after Nick Saban's gone. I just hate to tell you that, people, but that's the way it's going to be.
That's a fact, and I think that's something that a lot of people hadn't thought about. Nick Saban's not the only coach to win championships at Alabama,
right?
And he ain't gonna be the last either.
No, he's not. I mean, like I said, the run has been historical. It's been great because I've been able to live through it. But long after Nick Saban's gone, that next fit is going to happen, and we're going to probably get 2 or 3 under that coach as well, whoever that coach may be.
Yeah. Well, I think my house is getting tore apart right now by my kids, so I think that's going to wrap up this episode of Tide Talk Live as we kind of look at the program. I'll be there in a minute.
Oh,
my son's wanting to play some Madden, so I think I'm going to hop off here and go play some Madden with my son. But if you're not already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Jump in. I know that the chat wasn't bumping. I'm surprised. I thought fans would be here all ranting and raving about the program right now. But if you're watching after the live show is complete, jump in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on the program and in what direction you think they need to be going as far as coaching staff changes or whatever it may be. But thank you so much for watching. For those who did watch, we had several people watching throughout the entire episode. So thanks for watching. And until next time, roll Tide.